Today, we're going to be exploring the possibilities of the next remastered Beatles albums, such as the heavily rumoured Red and Blue album remasters, with Giles Martin potentially using Peter Jackson's AI-based demix technology. In other news, the final Beatles song, Now and Then, is finally on the horizon of release, featuring surprising elements from George Harrison and the use of old outtakes. Not to mention, the pending Rubber Soul remix has been delayed until next year. All this and more will be covered in this video, so stay tuned. Let's get into it. Starting with the Red and Blue albums, also known as 1962 to 66 and 1967 to 70, released in 1973, are important for Beatles fans. They're not just regular greatest hits collections. Instead, they give you a good look at the band's music and highlights. At the time these albums came out, the Beatles had already broken up, and each four members were doing really well with their solo careers. For many people born after the mid-1950s, these albums were like the starting point to discover the Beatles' music. What's special about the Red and Blue albums is that they managed to capture the Beatles' musical journey in just 4 discs, showing how their music changed over time. These albums are a great way for fans to get into the Beatles' music, and for old fans to relive the magic of the band. It has been predicted that Giles Martin is remixing the classic Red and Blue albums using Peter Jackson's new AI-based demix technology.
So we can take these mono tracks and split off all the instruments. We can just hear the vocals, the guitars. You see Ringo thumping the drums in the background, and you don't hear the drums at all. That allows us to remix it really cleanly.
That was Peter Jackson describing how it was used for the Get Back documentary. This technology was also used for the 2022 Revolver remix with outstanding results, such as fixing the poor stereo mastering on many of the songs, and even uncovering buried instruments in some cases. I and many other Beatles fans find this super exciting, as it gives old Beatles tracks a proper stereo mix, providing a new lease of life to old songs. The songs that are getting this remix treatment aren't exactly clear, but my best guess is that pretty much all of the songs on the Red album will be getting this remix, as the stereo mixes are old and outdated for this era of Beatles songs. That is aside from the recent 2022 Revolver remix, of course. The Red album also contains songs from Rubber Soul's now likely delayed deluxe set, due to the Red and Blue albums being pushed for release first. However, the new mixes for Rubber Soul songs have likely already been done, since it was set to release this year, so this means that any of the overlapping songs from the Red album and Rubber Soul will likely share the same new AI-assisted mixes. More on that later. This leaves the apparent question of what is happening to the Red album counterpart, the Blue album, as most of the songs have recently had a remix but without the assistance of the demix technology. My best inclination is that Giles Martin will only end up remixing songs that haven't been recently remixed, such as songs from Magical Mystery Tour and singles like Hey Jude, Revolution, Lady Madonna. But you never know, all of the songs could get this treatment. Another change that is said to be happening is the addition of the third LP to each of the albums. Although a controversial decision, due to the modification of the setlist of the Red and Blue albums as we currently know them, this would allow for many of the missed out songs, such as the lack of singles, single B-sides, covers, and the absence of songs from Revolver, to be added to this compilation. This set of remastered records will also be getting the 180-gram vinyl treatment, and will possibly be contained in a deluxe box set and as standalone records. Speculation also suggests it will be announced this month and even possibly released by the end of the month, but if not, sometime this year. One last rumour is that the famous 1962 to 66 and 1967 to 70 parts of the album title will now be gone, now officially being called the Red and the Blue albums. This is to enable the possibility for songs outside of the set year's range, such as some early recordings, but more likely anthologies Free as a Bird and Real Love, which are also getting the new remix treatment, and even the new final Beatles song, Now and Then, that will likely be releasing at the same time as this remastering. Let's give an update on what we know about Now and Then. Using information given out by Ringo in an interview on his 83rd birthday, and other leaks from an episode of Penn Jillette's podcast tell us everything we need to know, but still, make sure you take it with a grain of salt. George's guitar recording, a previously unknown George Harrison guitar recording from Anthology, is being used. This was confirmed by Ringo. It's not confirmed if George had a solo worked out for the song, but it doesn't look to be the case. Paul's enhanced vocals. There are claims that Paul's vocals on Now and Then have been digitally altered to make him sound younger. But this has raised doubts among fans, and is unlikely, since he likely recorded vocals back in the Anthology session and will probably be using those. Harmony vocals from Because. John, Paul and George's harmonies from an outtake of Because have been repurposed as backing vocals for Now and Then, by pitch shifting them to fit the correct key. Orchestral and horns. The song now features additional orchestral and horn overdubs. Ringo's drumming. Ringo initially hesitated, but eventually agreed to drum on the track, and has recently recorded it at his home in Los Angeles. Copyright and demo videos. Demo videos have been removed, likely due to copyright protection, hinting at an imminent official release. Overall, the information provided by Ringo definitively shows us this last song has lots of time and effort spent to make it as genuine of a Beatles track as possible, despite two of the members not being present. Quote, "It's not like we're pretending anything. That is actually John's voice, Paul's voice and bass playing, George on rhythm guitar and me on drums. And the only two things that are new are Paul's bass and me on drums. I really worked at it just months ago here, and it works. It's a beautiful song. You know, for all the madness going on around it, it's still such a beautiful track, and our last track." Ringo also added, "It's moving because the four of us are there, and there won't ever be again." This leaves one more question. What's going to happen to the anticipated Rubber Soul remix? Prior to the rumours of the Red and Blue album remixes, Rubber Soul was the likely candidate for this year's remix. This would have likely contained a new stereo mix of the original UK track list using Peter Jackson's D-Mix technology to finally provide Rubber Soul with a proper stereo mix. It could also include a mono analog repress of the album, just like the 2022 Revolver set, a double LP of outtakes, and even a 7-inch EP that includes demixified versions of the singles from around the time on the A-side, and a mono analog repress of the same singles on the B-side. On screen now are some of the things I'd like to see on the Sessions LP. I've done my best to figure out what material actually exists, so the ones with question marks I'm really not sure about, but I do hope to see versions of all these songs in some form. This album would likely be delayed until next year due to the imminent release of the Red and Blue albums this year. However, as discussed earlier, there are a few Rubber Soul songs present on the Red album, so this will give us a taster of what the remix might sound like. My best guess is that the entirety of Rubber Soul has already been remixed, thus, when it is released, it will have the same mix as what will be appearing on the Red album. Whilst on the topic of future box sets, there are additionally some future remixes / box sets I would personally like to see, such as Please Please Me and all the early albums, and a super revamped version of Magical Mystery Tour. A new video coming out soon to cover this topic more. In conclusion, it looks like this year we will be getting not only the new Beatles single, but a whole remaster of the Red and Blue albums, and next year we'll have the new and improved Rubber Soul album to look forward to. Just to emphasise, these are all just predictions. These are my educated guesses of what the future releases might look like. Thanks for watching. Like if you like, and dislike if you didn't like it. Subscribe if you really enjoyed, because 95% of you who watch these videos aren't yet subscribed. I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions, so let me know down below what topics you would like to hear about next. Thanks for watching. Bye, 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 bye.